Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
Alright, first, new bulletin status on the Book of Boba Fett Season 2. Tamora Morrison did a brief interview where he says, I've been trying to nudge them in that direction, but it needs more nudging. I just thought people should know.
I can't see them ever doing it. I could see Boba certainly showing up again, but I can't see like another... Unless they just decide to do a Boba Fett season, actually. Not what we got the first time.
Yeah, yes.
You know, badass Boba.
Badass Boba.
Just going around.
The Book of Badass.
Yeah, chapter 2.
Season Boba.
Real Boba Fett, yeah. Badassery. That's what I want. That's what I want a chapter 1 to be, but...
Alright, we're going to move on from your sentimentality over there.
Okay.
Leslye Headland did an interview with Entertainment Weekly. It's got a lot of really interesting tidbits. So there will be spoilers for episode 5 of The Acolyte, Night. Yeah. And she does talk a little bit about season 2. So the first question they were asking her was about killing main characters. And that's a big move to do in movies, let alone to do it twice in one episode by getting rid of Jecki and Yord.
Those were main characters?
I guess.
How would you... what's her definition of main character at this point?
Shown lots in the marketing.
Okay, perfect answer.
In that case, Indara is also a main character.
Yeah.
But Leslye said, I think a good twist is not about hiding everything from the audience and then throwing it on them like, hey, this is what you didn't see. We hit it so well that you didn't see it. I think a good twist is telegraphing what's going to happen and then once it's done, executing it without an ounce of pity or sentimentality. Which that was... Yeah, I guess.
I
didn't see them telegraphing that they were dying.
No, that wasn't telegraphed. I think what was telegraphed was Khmer was the Sith, stranger, smiley teeth guy. That was extremely telegraphed to the point where myself and I think others kind of thought it couldn't be because it was way too telegraphed.
She said she thinks a good example where this worked really well was Empire Strikes Back because when Luke leaves Yoda on Dagobah, Yoda says, if you face Vader, you're going to fail. You just are. It's not like the audience didn't know going in what was up. But then Luke loses. He loses in such a devastating way, not just physically, but psychologically. He loses on such a huge level, so the twist of I am your father works perfectly because you already know he's going to lose. So you're just kind of waiting for how it's going to happen, and you don't know it's going to cut as deep as it does. She's describing Yord and Jecki's death as some deep emotional twist, which we didn't have them around long enough to care that much.
She's also kind of comparing Khmer to Darth Vader. That he's on the same... Darth Vader is on a whole other level, right? He's one of the most badass Sith.
Effing Vader.
Yeah, if he doesn't get put in a suit and he keeps going, he's going to be... Yeah, he's going to be a monster. Well,
that was like a tether, a leash, a collar.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a restrictor, if you will. He had a restraining bolt on him. My point is, I don't think we should be putting, Khmer in the same breath as Vader and how, we knew they were going to die to him. Nobody knew what his power...
Jecki didn't go into that going, I'm totally going to lose this fight. And the audience didn't go into this going, she's going to die.
Yeah.
You might not have thought she would win the fight, but nobody was like, she's going to die right here.
I think we all kind of anticipated the Jedi might die because it would make sense because then it doesn't maybe break canon. So we were like, okay, well, maybe they all die. But I don't think anybody was thinking Khmer's going to be such a badass that anybody who goes against him is just going to die. I don't think anybody thought that.
So next they asked her how that all played into the reveal of Khmer as the stranger. Keep in mind, the Star Wars Databank also did say that Khmer is also an alias, so we really don't know his name. It's not a jaw-dropping moment as much as... I think the question is, well, how is it going to happen? What are we going to see? There are definitely moments in episodes 2 and 4 where you're like, there's something going on with this guy. Then he says, you look just like her. There's something that you're like, whoa, what's this about? But you need a villain that you kind of agree with in some ways. Not his actions, obviously, but when Sol says, what do you want? He says freedom. That is something you can't argue with. He wants freedom to be able to be who he is and wield his power the way he wants to. But he also wants freedom on a second level that I think we'll get more into in Season 2. But once we know he was going to kill Jecki and Yord, then it became about how are you going to execute this in a way that feels satisfying and believable once it does happen.
This is the dumbest I've ever heard.
So if a serial killer wants the freedom to be able to murder people the way they want to, we should leave them alone.
Yep. You're going exactly on my line of thought.
He just says that the Jedi would describe him as a Sith.
Yeah.
Meaning he understands that Sith are not good people. That if the Jedi would see him as a Sith, that means he understands that they would see him as not a good person, which means maybe he knows he's using the Force for not good things.
Well, yeah,
so,
he's killing people.
I'm training my Acolyte. I want to be left alone to train my Acolyte to kill Jedi without weapons. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
I want the freedom
such oppression out of
to
them
teach
Jedi.
my Acolyte to kill Jedis. What's the problem? I can understand you saying I want freedom if you're not doing anything wrong, but he's abusing the Force and using it to train people to murder.
Like, I get from his point of view that's what he wants, right? Don't misunderstand me here. Like, I get that's what he wants and it makes sense as a Sith. He just wants to go do whatever. But, like, we shouldn't be like, oh, yeah, he's got a point. Like, he should be allowed to go around and kill people.
We should all look
like,
the other way while he does it.
Yeah, like, how stupid is this?
Yeah, so I really did not get behind that answer. They asked if we're going to learn any more about the stranger's backstory. Maybe some flashbacks or dialogue to learn how he came across being the way he is.
Sure.
You're not going to like this answer.
No, because that would be, again,
Headland
require cleverness.
Because it's Osha's story, you don't know much about the stranger's backstory, and you're not going to learn much about it. But there are a bunch of things in episodes 6 and 8 that are really big clues as to why he is the way he is, and why his philosophy is the way it is. Yeah, and then they softballed her a question about, what can you say about him taking out and, like, killing all those Jedi? And she's like, well, he has to. They see my face, they have to die. That's what he said, because he's trying to be incognito.
Well, why did he reveal himself that way then? Why did he attack all the Jedi?
Because they were there, and because they were May was gonna go give herself up to them, and
then kill May.
Yeah. Why
you
go
in there? You either just kill May, or you go in there and you kill Kilnaka.
Maybe
and
he
then May
understands
shows up,
that
and you kill May, and then you leave.
Maybe he understands though that he can't do that either, unless she makes it look like Kilnaka and May killed each other.
Well, just take May's body and give it to the bugs. Like, give her to the damn bugs and make it seem like they killed her.
Then they might always be searching for a dark side user at that point.
They're still going to be, because they already suspect she was... They're already concerned about who trained her. So now instead of being
Unless your dust theory works.
I think it is the dust theory. But here's my problem. Okay, so he's trying to cover it all up, and she's already killed 2 Jedi. So they already suspect something. So what do you do as someone who's afraid of the truth being uncovered? You kill like 7 of them.
You just leave them.
Yeah,
well, we don't even know. We don't even know if he's going to leave them all there. We know he leaves later off screen.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the dust with the orange spores. It's going to be something.
That will work for me.
It's not going to work for me, but it's going to be what the show does.
Hopefully.
Well, I guess so. I see. This is one of those times where I'm like, am I giving him too much credit?
All right. Well, let's keep moving forward. She also talks about how she really wanted to introduce a bunch of things that exist in the expanded universe and bring them to live action. That's why she gave him the lightsaber style called, and I'm going to mispronounce the heck out of this, Trakata. Must be from Legends. I'm not a Legends expert. But it involves people turning on and off the lightsaber, which is considered very devious. So, it makes sense that he's using that style. People like the Jedi are used to training with other styles, so they're maybe not prepared for that different fighting style.
The problem with that is Jedi see things before they happen. They have great reflexes because they know unexpected things are going to happen. That's why they block blaster
Soul
bolts.
did well against him, but the others...
Look, I'm not saying there isn't something to different techniques and trying to... I get that. I'm not trying to discount that entirely, but the idea that suddenly you do a different style entirely, like, oh my god, I couldn't even fathom this, even though I can see things before they frickin' happen.
Well, then they talked about cortosis as well.
Yeah,
the magical EU mineral that can short out... Thanks, Kyle. That can short out a lightsaber, and that it was really powerful. And she talked with Filoni about bringing it in. And they discussed that it turns them off, but the lightsaber will come back. So because it's like an unstable thing. It blocks the lightsaber out for a bit, and the lightsaber can come back on. I didn't particularly like watching them smack it like it was a piece of electronics that's not working.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we still do that. That was back in the day, tube TVs. You give them a couple hits. I still do that
with the remote control.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not going to help.
You just give it a little hit and it starts working again.
No, and then I have to buy a new one. And you're like, look, it works.
See,
I
works
hit it.
again.
I'm like, no,
it's like
that's
magic.
A new one. They also talked about how they came up with the look for the Stranger.
Okay.
Darth Biceps is still the name I like. Yeah,
sure.
I know you like Smilo Ren.
No, I like Darth Smiley, but no one else does.
Darth Smiley's pretty good.
Smilo Ren's fine, though, too.
She said, when we were designing the costume, I said very early on, I don't want him to wear armor besides the gauntlet and the helmet. That's the cortosis and how he uses them, but he doesn't have any armor. My costume designer was like, well, why? And I said, why would you wear armor if you don't plan on getting hit? He has that level of confidence of just like, no one's going to land anything on me. She also talks about the fights and the basic outline for this episode was a samurai battle between Soul and the Stranger, which would be left up in the air as to who is stronger, a down and dirty girl fight between Jackie and May, then that Padawan and Master team up the way you see in Phantom Menace with Duel of the Fates. Yeah, this was your Duel of the Fates fight.
Sure.
That's what it was.
If they say so. It wasn't bad. I don't think it was like bad. I mean, you could argue there are points in there where it's like, well, why didn't they just... It's one of those times where sometimes you see like a Jedi like, I'm going to spin my lightsaber even though I got a perfectly open shot to kill him. Mm-hmm. If you ignore those things, yeah. It's cool. It's cool to watch. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah, and then she really wanted the audience to mourn Jackie and then was like, you know what? F it. Let's just have him ask what was its name. She says that came from Obi-Wan asking Qui-Gon about Darth Maul. What was it? We always like to humanize our aliens, but other beings might be like, what... Was that its name?
Was that supposed to be like xenophobia?
I think so.
Oh. I just took it as poor writing.
What?
It's such a weird line. Like, right. It's trying to be too... It's one of those things where, like, I get where you're trying to go with that, but it comes off as so edgy that it's just kind of cheesy, I think. Does that make sense?
I feel you. And then they kind of talked... This is where they start talking about the possibility of the season 2.
It's not. It's not too bad.
She said, I'll tell you my philosophy on first seasons. Something that I've noticed is first seasons will end on what should have been a break into Act 2. It feels like everyone's really expecting to get a second season, and I don't feel that's a good idea. I think you should put everything you can into the first season and give the audience a nice resolution that feels satisfying, but enough nods to mysteries that you would want to see a second season. So it's a little bit of both. You don't want to leave it so wrapped up that, like Obi-Wan or a standalone miniseries, there's no reason to watch a second season, but I think there's enough stuff in the last few episodes that you would want to have answered. I kind of agree with that approach.
Oh, I don't entirely disagree with that, no.
I think a first season should...
You gotta make it as good as you can.
Yeah, you should make it as good as you can, and it should have a soft ending, is what I like to say.
Yeah,
where the major plot you were talking about this season resolves, but you do leave the door open with enough mystery that you could move forward to a season 2 if it presents itself.
A season 1 should feel like
I agree with her there.
It's kind of like Star Wars, right? Definitely had when I say Star Wars, I mean A New Hope. I'm sorry. But it definitely has, a complete story. It has an ending where you're like, well, if I don't ever see any more, I can just assume the good guys go on to win. But then you got Darth Vader floating around. So it's like, well, he could come back and do some bad stuff. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that's I like that kind of ending for a first season.
It makes
for a
sense.
First part of a story, yeah.
You shouldn't count on a season 2 because then when you don't get a season 2, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
All right, but that's all for that. Let's move into new this week in Star Wars, etc. Today, Acolyte, Episode 6, 8 p.m. Central Time.
Buckle up.
I feel like this is going to be another flashback episode.
Yep.
We'll see.
Well, we heard from her in the interview we're supposed to get some...
yeah, she said 6 and 8.
Stranger. So this is 6, yeah, right?
Yeah, this is 6, so we'll maybe see a little bit more. I still think that Darth Smiley's arms are burned because he was at the fire. Definitely he was there. He's the one who saved May. He's probably also part of the problem. Yeah. We'll see. Wednesday, we'll be doing voice chat on the Discord server, 8 p.m. Central Time. We'll be on Wednesday this week, so not to interfere with anyone's 4th of July plans here in America. So you can go out and enjoy your fireworks on 4th of July. You don't have to be in our server for the fireworks that'll most likely be happening there.
Yeah, sometimes fireworks happen in our server, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be Wednesday this week. Mark your calendars, if you still use those.
Put it in your phone.
For comics, we have Star Wars Inquisitors, number 1, and High Republic, number 9. And then at the end of the week / beginning of next week, I guess, Sunday, House of the Dragons, episode 4 on HBO.
Yay. It's been good so far.
It's been good so far.
Yep.
Good, yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well, that's gonna be all we got for you this time. Now it's your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell us what you think of any and all of today's news. Let's talk some Star Wars. And so until next time, thanks for watching.